You're about to walk into a restaurant. The hostess smiles. The menu looks great. Everything seems perfect. But here's what they're not telling you. That kitchen? It's been flagged for violations that would make your stomach turn. And the worst part? These places are still serving customers right now. 7 restaurants across Canada have health inspection records so disturbing, so consistently problematic, that honestly, you need to know about them before you make your next dinner reservation. We're not talking about a single bad day or one isolated incident. We're talking about patterns, repeated violations, the kind of stuff that makes health inspectors walk in and immediately start documenting everything they see. It's this one. Over 3 million people in the metro area, thousands of restaurants, competition everywhere. You'd think that would keep everyone on their toes. Right. Wrong. There's a popular spot in the entertainment district. Won't name it yet, but it's the kind of place with exposed brick walls, Edison bulbs hanging from the ceiling, and a menu that uses words like artisanal and locally sourced about 17 times. It's got 4.5 stars on Google. People line up on weekends. Influencers take photos of their brunch there. Toronto Public Health has a different story. In the last 18 months, this place has racked up infractions like they're collecting Pokemon cards. We're talking improper food storage temperatures. That means your chicken might be sitting in the danger zone, between 4 and 60 degrees Celsius, which is basically a breeding ground for bacteria. Salmonella loves that temperature. So does E. coli and Listeria. It practically throws a party. But wait, there's more. Pest control issues. Not just one mouse sighting that gets dealt with immediately. Multiple reports. Droppings found near food prep areas. And here's the kicker. When inspectors returned for a follow-up visit 6 months later, they found many of the same violations still happening. It's not that they didn't know. They just didn't care enough to fix it permanently. The owner posts on Instagram about their commitment to quality. They share photos of their farm-to-table ingredients. But the health inspection report tells a different story. That locally sourced kale might be fresh, but if it's being stored next to raw chicken that's been sitting at room temperature for 3 hours, all the local sourcing in the world isn't going to save you from a weekend hunched over your toilet. Now some of you are probably thinking, okay, that's Toronto. Big city problems. Surely the smaller cities have better standards. Right. Places where everyone knows everyone, and reputation actually means something? Let me introduce you to a beloved family restaurant in Hamilton. This place has been around for 35 years. 3.5 decades of serving the community. They've got framed newspaper clippings on the walls from the 90s. Former mayors have eaten there. It's the kind of place where your parents probably took you as a kid, and now you're thinking about taking your own kids there for the nostalgia factor alone. The Hamilton Public Health Services inspection records paint a picture that's hard to square with all that nostalgia. Over the past 2 years, inspectors have documented repeatedly that food handlers weren't washing their hands properly. Not just once. Not twice. Multiple visits. Same problem. We're talking about people touching raw meat, then touching ready-to-eat foods, without proper hand washing in between. You know what's wild? Hand washing is literally the most basic, fundamental aspect of food safety. It's not complicated. It doesn't require expensive equipment. Just soap, water, and 20 seconds. That's it. If a restaurant can't get that right after 35 years in business, what else are they getting wrong? The inspection reports also noted inadequate cleaning of food contact surfaces. That means cutting boards, prep tables, utensils, all the stuff that touches your food might not be properly sanitized. Cross-contamination city. Your vegetarian sandwich might be getting cozy with bacteria from raw chicken that was prepped on the same surface 3 hours ago. But here's where it gets really interesting. This restaurant has a loyal customer base who will defend it to the death. Post anything critical online, and you'll get 20 comments about how they've been eating there for years and never gotten sick. And maybe that's true. Maybe they've been lucky. Or maybe they just attributed that food poisoning to something else. That stomach bug that knocked you out for 2 days last month? You blamed it on your coworker who was sick. But was it really your coworker? Or was it that club sandwich from the place with the health violations? Moving west to Winnipeg. Manitoba's capital has its own restaurant problem, and this one involves a pretty upscale establishment. We're talking white tablecloths, wine pairings, prices that make you double-check the menu to make sure they're not charging per ounce. the kind of place you go to for anniversaries and special occasions. The Manitoba Health Inspection reports from the Regional Health Authority show that this high-end spot has been cited multiple times for temperature control violations in their walk-in coolers and freezers. In one inspection, inspectors found that the cooler was operating at 11 degrees Celsius. That's 7 degrees warmer than the safe maximum for refrigeration. For context, that's like leaving your groceries in your car on a spring day and hoping for the best. Here's the thing about temperature violations at an upscale restaurant. You're not just paying for the quality of ingredients. You're paying for the expertise, the care, the attention to detail that supposedly comes with fine dining. If they can't maintain proper refrigeration temperatures, what exactly are you paying for? The ambiance? The fancy plates? The same restaurant has also been flagged for inadequate pest control measures and evidence of pest activity. When you're charging $60 for a steak, finding out that mice might be sharing your kitchen is a bit of a mood killer. And before anyone says every restaurant in every city deals with pests, you're right. The difference is how they deal with it. Good restaurants have proactive, aggressive pest control programs. Bad restaurants wait until there's a visible problem, slap a few traps down, and call it a day. Let's talk about Vancouver for a minute. Beautiful city, ocean views, mountains, some of the best food scene in Canada. Also home to a sushi restaurant that makes this list, which is particularly troubling because raw fish demands absolute precision in handling and storage. Vancouver coastal health inspectors have documented this particular establishment with repeat violations involving improper cooling procedures for cooked rice. Now, you might be thinking, it's just rice. How bad can it be? Actually, improperly cooled rice is one of the main causes of Bacillus cereus food poisoning. This bacteria produces toxins that can survive even after reheating. The symptoms include vomiting and diarrhea within a few hours of eating. It's not usually life-threatening, but it's definitely going to ruin your day. Or your week. The same restaurant has also been cited for employees not demonstrating adequate food safety knowledge. That's inspector speak for. The people making your food don't really understand why the rules exist, so they're not following them properly. It's one thing to have a violation happen because someone made a mistake. It's another thing entirely when your staff fundamentally doesn't understand food safety principles. This restaurant, by the way, has great online reviews. People rave about the freshness of the fish. They love the atmosphere. They post beautiful photos of their sushi platters. None of those reviews mention the inspection reports, because most people don't think to check them. They just assume that if a place is busy and popular, it must be doing things right. That assumption can land you in the bathroom for 12 hours straight. Calgary, let's talk. There's a barbecue joint that's become something of an institution. They smoke their meat for hours. The smell from their smokers draws people from blocks away. They've won local awards. They're always packed, and their health inspection history is a mess. Alberta Health Services has repeatedly cited this restaurant for issues with their smoking and cooking equipment not being properly maintained. We're talking about grease buildup, inadequate cleaning, and temperature monitoring problems. When you're slow cooking meat for hours, temperature control isn't just important, it's critical. Undercooked pork or chicken can harbor parasites and bacteria that'll make you seriously ill. The restaurant has also been flagged multiple times for using unapproved equipment and makeshift repairs to their cooking gear. Food safety equipment needs to meet specific standards for a reason. When you start improvising with duct tape and spare parts, you're creating potential contamination points and safety hazards. Barbecue is all about patience, precision, and respecting the process. Low and slow, as they say. If you've got the patience to smoke a brisket for 14 hours, you've got the patience to properly clean your equipment and follow health codes. The fact that they're not doing it suggests the priorities are in the wrong place. Montreal is famous for its food scene. Bagels, the whole deal. It's a city where people take their eating seriously, which makes it even more disappointing to talk about a popular brunch spot in the Plateau that's been flagged by Montreal Public Health repeatedly over the past 3 years. This place serves all the brunch classics. Eggs Benedict, French toast, you name it. They've got a patio that's packed every weekend. Wait times can stretch to 90 minutes. But the inspection reports show a troubling pattern of violations related to food handler hygiene and cross-contamination risks. In multiple inspections, Health officials noted that staff weren't changing gloves between handling raw and ready-to-eat foods. That's basic stuff. You don't touch raw eggs then grab someone's toast without changing gloves. It's not complicated. But it keeps happening, which suggests either inadequate training or inadequate supervision, or both. The restaurant has also been cited for not maintaining proper records of food sources and temperatures. That might sound bureaucratic, but those records exist for a reason. If there's a foodborne illness outbreak, health officials need to be able to trace back where food came from and how it was handled. Without proper records, that's impossible, which means the outbreak could spread further before anyone figures out the source. What really gets me about this one is the disconnect between the brand and the reality. Their Instagram is all about celebrating food and bringing people together. They post quotes about the joy of a good meal shared with friends. But the health violations suggest they're not actually that concerned about the well-being of the people eating there. It's performative. It's vibes over substance. Our last stop is Ottawa, the nation's capital, home to Parliament, museums, government buildings, and a restaurant near the Byward Market that has managed to accumulate an impressive array of health violations while somehow staying in business. Ottawa public health inspectors have documented this establishment with repeat violations spanning everything from improper food storage to inadequate hand-washing facilities to evidence of pests. It's like they're trying to collect the whole set of possible infractions. In one particularly alarming inspection report, officials noted that ready-to-eat foods were being stored on the floor of the walk-in cooler. The floor, where people walk, where stuff gets dropped. Let's be honest, who knows what else happens? The restaurant also received multiple violations for not having a certified food safety supervisor present during all hours of operation. That's required by law in Ontario, and for good reason. Someone needs to be there who understands food safety principles and can ensure staff are following proper procedures. Without that oversight, you get exactly what this restaurant has demonstrated: a consistent pattern of violations that never really gets fixed. Here's what connects all 7 of these restaurants. It's not just that they had violations. Lots of places get dinged for something at some point. What makes these 7 different is the pattern of repeat violations. Inspectors come in, document problems, the restaurant promises to fix them, and then the next inspection shows the same issues still happening. That's not bad luck. That's not a single employee having a bad day. That's a systemic failure of management to prioritize food safety. Some people will say, look, health inspections are too strict. Inspectors are looking for any little thing to write up. And sure, some violations are minor. A label that's missing a date, whatever. But we're not talking about technicalities here. We're talking about temperature control, pest infestations, improper hand washing, and cross-contamination. These are the big ones. The violations that can actually make people sick. The really frustrating thing is that following food safety protocols isn't that hard. It requires training, attention to detail, and a commitment to doing things the right way even when it's inconvenient. Plenty of restaurants manage to do this successfully. They maintain spotless inspection records while still being profitable and beloved by customers. It's absolutely possible. These 7 places just aren't doing it. So what do you do with this information? First, understand that you can look up health inspection records yourself. Most provinces and municipalities make them available online, especially if you're immunocompromised, pregnant, elderly, or feeding young children. Take 5 minutes to check their inspection history. It's public information. Use it. Second, pay attention to red flags when you're in a restaurant. If the bathroom is gross, the kitchen is probably worse. If you see staff handling money and then touching food without changing gloves, that's a problem. If something smells off or looks questionable, trust your gut and don't eat it. Third, report problems. If you get food poisoning, don't just suffer through it and move on. Report it to your local health department. They track these things. Your report could be the data point that triggers an inspection and potentially prevents other people from getting sick. Look, nobody wants to be paranoid about eating out. Food should be enjoyable. Going to restaurants should be fun. But that enjoyment shouldn't come at the cost of your health. These 7 restaurants have demonstrated through documented patterns of violations that they're not taking food safety seriously enough. Until they make significant changes, your money and your appetite are better spent elsewhere. There are too many good restaurants out there doing things the right way to waste your time on places that cut corners with your well-being. Stay safe out there. Check those inspection reports. And maybe pack a lunch for a while.